Welcome to the Business Growth Masterclass, where business growth is made simple. Listen as we discuss best practices to streamline your operations, increase your profits, and ultimately create healthier, more stable, and more valuable companies. Today's guest is the CFO of Bruce Thornton Heating and Air, Bruce Thornton Air Conditioning. There it is. And his name is John King, and that was a fun interview.
Yeah, it was a great time. He's a smart guy and doing a lot of cool things.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
I enjoy every time I get to talk to him. What was your number one takeaway?
Well, John's definitely a systems kind of thinker, and I loved how he's always thinking about ways to improve, but he also sees how important it is to get people to buy into that improvement and not, just jump in with an idea. So he talked about having someone who's a champion for what you want to accomplish. And I thought that was so good because there's a lot of business owners out there that, they want to throw something at their team, this big change, and people reject it. He was talking about get buy-in from that first person and then kind of build from there. I thought that was really cool. What about you?
I like that. My favorite is really the biggest issue facing that industry and many industries, and it's people. And how do you find heating and air guys? How do you find plumbers? How do you find tradesmen? And they've done the hard work for 5 years, that they've built this reputation and this culture that now recruiting and retaining people is their superpower.
Yeah, it just takes care of itself.
Yeah, and I really think our business owners who are trying to build that team can just kind of sit in what he says and process that and think about what does that mean for your business. And yeah, that was my favorite part.
Yeah, that was great.
All right, without further ado, here we go. Okay, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
John King. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Y'all?
Good. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Appreciate you inviting me.
All right. Well, we always like to start with a little bit of an icebreaker. And so I'm curious, if you could go to lunch with any entrepreneur, dead or alive, who are you picking?
Steve Wozniak.
Okay.
The Woz.
The Woz.
So
Okay.
why would you pick him?
So growing up, I was a tech kid and just one of those guys. I mean, you got Gates and you've got Jobs, but I mean, everybody kind of knows everything about. But Woz has been just kind of almost a futurist. Like he picks out stuff way before it happens and has been brilliant at that. Plus he's kind of quirky and
Yeah,
he's weird.
He's weird. I think he'd be an interesting lunch date.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's a good answer. I was not expecting that one.
The Woz.
Yeah. So would you mind telling us how you got into, well, first of all, your business and then how you got into it?
Almost on accident. So a couple of things. I owned a business. I worked in telecom for 15 years. So heating, mechanical business was not something that was anywhere on my radar. AT&T wanted me to move to Dallas, and I didn't want to move to Dallas. So they surplused me, and I was kind of starting to search for a job. My dad went to Rotary with a guy that I grew up with. The business owner had died a few years ago, and he needed somebody to replace himself. And that's how I got into the heating and air conditioning business. Like a lot of the things that I've done in my life, I just stumble into things, and
Wow.
the Lord looks out for me somehow. So
Yeah.
that's how it happened. He was at lunch. He called me as like, hey, like I need some help. And I thought I'd be there 6 months. Like, okay, I'll come help you out. We'll do some IT stuff. I have a computer information systems degree and a minor in finance, and just loved it. Like going from a company that was larger than the population of the city you grew up in to like being able to make decisions and really run parts of a business and improve it.
Yeah.
Almost like, I don't know, I worked in construction back in the day, and building something, you look at it and you're like, man, I did that. That was really cool. I get to drive by it and see it. And so that kind of satisfaction has been really interesting working in a business like that.
Yeah. That's amazing.
What year was that? How long have you been at Bruce Thornton?
Let's see, it's 2017, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So not long. Been there 7 years,
7 years.
8 years.
So when you first got into it, what were some of the challenges like some of the hard parts of just jumping into this business that you had never been in before? And
Well, I was fortunate. I worked construction in high school, so I at least knew some of the trade stuff and had an opportunity to work in a lot of different parts of construction. But I mean, that business is really unique. Like there's a lot to learn just across the board, and having such carte blanche early on. I mean, I think I started out fixing printers and doing some of their IT stuff because that was my background. And I was there 6 months and they gave me all the office personnel. So
wow.
Then I was really able to make an impact and get broad. And that's really where I'm at my best, I think, is when I get to see the entire picture and make changes.
So how do you think they saw that in you? Like knew that you would be the guy to run the whole office?
I don't think they did.
Okay.
I mean, it just so happened that the owner was on a cruise and one of the key folks quit. And she quit because she's like, I'm not working for this other person. And he was like, well, I need these people. So will you take over? And I think very much on both of our sides, it was a temporary thing. Like, okay, I'll take this over for a little period of time. I still was not planning on being there very long and just kind of fell in love with it afterwards. I mean, that you gotta understand, this is the greatest people on the planet, just salt of the earth guys. Like they're awesome.
Cool.
I mean, they use the F word a lot, but they're just great people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of the military and construction.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of 4-letter words. That's amazing. Okay. So being an IT guy in a blue collar industry, how do they handle that? How does that?
It's been a struggle on both sides.
Yeah.
I tell them frequently, you know, when you're a hammer, you see every problem as a nail. So I want to automate everything, like automate, eliminate, or automate, delegate, or eliminate, or just do it yourself. I mean, that's something I got from a book years ago.
Yeah.
But that's my mentality, but it's been really good for the business. And so I think early on it was not received well. Like, that's dumb. Why would we do that? We've done it this way for 1,000 years. Why would we want to start using this software package to track this piece of our inventory? We just wrote it down on paper yesterday. Why do we need to do it on a computer? But I think as that's progressed, nobody ever likes change. But once you see that it makes your job easier, it makes things better, then they tend to accept it better. But it was a rough 6 months, I think, for all involved.
That's one of those things, especially with the trades. Like, these are guys who are, you know, highly skilled to work with their hands and you know, and specialized tools, that bringing in kind of this white collar MBA automate everything is a battle.
Yeah.
And I like how you articulated that. Like, once they see that it makes their lives better, and you are a humble guy, and you don't brag on yourself, but do you feel like that's a skill set that you had to be able to articulate that to your teams of like, hey, I know this is some fancy, you know, this is a computer that you're having to deal with and it could break, but this is why it's going to be better.
I am now. I don't think when I started I was that great at articulating that, but I've gotten better at it. Like, that communication piece is particularly important when you're making change. But I mean, the thing that I've always figured out is if you can get one guy to do it, then the next guy will do it easier. So I was very strategic about picking the guy that I knew would maybe lean towards that, a younger guy that adopted technology a little easier. And then we kind of spread it from there, department by department.
Okay. That's a great pro tip, because I think a lot of people out there, they know what they're aiming for, especially business owners or people who are more systems oriented in their mindset like you. It's like, okay, but how do I get all these other people who are just like stuck in their ways to go with us on this journey?
You've got to find a champion.
Yeah.
Otherwise that stuff's, you can get enough pushback that it just, I mean, you see that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to deploy this new software package and they push it down folks' throats and they revolt against it and it doesn't work. Versus the thing that I learned, and I learned it real quick, is that, you know, I've got to pick somebody that's going to be a partner with me, but is going to teach me the things that I don't know. Because, man, I'll tell you, going in, selecting parts that are coming off of a truck, I didn't know half of what those parts were. And so them telling me, yeah, this is good, but this piece is not going to work, and us, you know, changing what we were doing to make that. I mean, really, that's the point, right? You're trying to put software packages in people's hands that make the business better and life easier for them.
Yeah.
And if you can accomplish both of those at the same time, you're going to win. But you have to get input from the people that are doing it every day. I don't make $1 for our company. I mean, literally, there's $0 been made by me for this company. My job is to make it more efficient, better run, better financials. But those guys make the money. I'm a support cast.
So you're doing a lot of listening.
Yes, lots of listening.
Yeah.
Unlike this podcast where I'm doing a lot of talking.
Hey, that's all right. That's why we want you here. Well, then maybe you're already talking a little bit about it, but I'm curious, what's the why for you behind what you do? Is it that continuous improvement, or is it that plus something else? Like, what drives you every day?
Curiosity.
Okay.
And like, there's some weird efficiency in me that I don't understand. Like, I completely automated my house so that I could walk out and the lights turn off. Like, I spent days, months doing this so I could save 5 minutes every time I walk out the house and not have to run around the house and turn the lights off. So those two things combined, I guess, are what drive me. Like, a new problem every day is the best thing that can happen to me.
I got 3 kids. I got 3 kids. I want to learn how to do this lights thing you're talking about.
Right. Because you walk out of the house and my wife was like, you're insane. But now, we just hit a button as we walk out and all the lights go out.
What's your catchphrase to describe yourself about being really lazy?
Oh, I'm the laziest guy you'll ever meet. But I think that laziness is what drives my efficiency. Right. If I was just lazy, then I'm probably not sitting here doing this podcast.
Yeah, it's not very useful.
But that laziness driving efficient, I don't know. I like it.
It's tongue in cheek, right? But you're describing that like, okay, how can I be lazier? How can we automate, delegate, or eliminate?
I have spent my entire career, at least at BTAC, trying to work myself out of a job. I'm never going to do it, but that I guess that's the thing that drives me, is building that one piece that I don't have to do again, whether that's a process, whether that's an automation, whether that's software taking over a piece of my job. Like, I would love to just not do anything. I think as men, that's our goal in life, right? Just to sit on the couch and watch football and do nothing.
Sure.
And just sit in peace.
Sure.
But have everything else still go and work.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Briefly, describe a little more of Bruce Thornton. It's a heating and air company. Do y'all have electrical, plumbing?
So we don't have electrical. That's something we've talked about forever. But we have residential and commercial plumbing service, residential and commercial HVAC service. We have a refrigeration department that not many folks are familiar with, but everything from a tortilla machine to a walk-in freezer to a Coke machine, we fix all of that stuff. So that's commercial only. You don't really run into that stuff in somebody's home. Occasionally somebody will have a high-end ice maker or something that we can work on, but primarily commercial. Then we have a construction division that specializes in schools and hospitals. So big construction, multi-year jobs. And then we've got a metal shop. Those guys are freaking artists. If it's made out of steel or metal, they can build anything. Like, they blow my mind with some of the stuff that they put together. And that one's unique because we not only do that, it's really designed to support our commercial construction HVAC side, putting ductwork up that you used to, here you don't see it, but a lot of restaurants, it's become common to just hang it up there and see it. Yeah. And that division sells not only to us, but to our competitors.
Okay.
I didn't. Okay. So 2 different trades, mainly the plumbing and HVAC. Mm-hmm. So what does the staff look like? How many people do you have? How many journeymen, apprentice?
We have 125 employees.
Whoa. 125.
It's a big operation.
That was not the number I thought you were going to say. Okay.
Probably have 20 or so support staff between, AR, AP, receptionists, dispatchers, folks that work in the warehouse, delivering materials, stocking our warehouse so that we can restock our trucks, that kind of stuff.
Okay. And then what's your breakdown as far as journeymen and masters licenses?
Well, you only operate under one masters.
Okay.
We have 3 or 4, I think, but there's only ever one master of record. Journeyman, man, I don't know the answer to that. We probably have, we've got 7 on the service side and then probably another 10. So probably 17, 18 licensed plumbers.
Wow.
You have to be a licensed plumber to have work being done. So like on a job site, you've got to have a licensed plumber there that's operating things.
Yeah.
So you have a lot more personnel than most people we talk to. I'm curious how you structure your communication, like your meetings. How do you guys, is it necessary to have regular meetings in your organization? How does that go?
So I guess it depends on the trades. I'm not in charge of the construction division. We have a construction supervisor, and then we've got plumbing supervisors, and then we've got, so I'm not in charge of the trades people. I'm just in charge of the support people. But typically how that works is on a construction site, you've got a meeting every morning before you go out and do work, kind of lining out, okay, here's what we're doing today. This is where we're working. On the service side, they have a meeting about once a week just to kind of go through updates, trainings, I mean, safety stuff, all the things that go into running a dangerous job. And then on the office side, we probably have fewer meetings like that, more just kind of one-on-one conversations. We probably have one a month where we bring everybody in and kind of have those conversations. But it's really hard to do that because you almost shut down operations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys can't get POs, things aren't being dispatched, customers aren't being answered. So we try and keep those to a minimum. And then we have a company meeting once every quarter, just bring everybody in, kind of give the broader updates, try and keep those positive, employee of the months, that kind of stuff. Who's got a license, who had a kid, just so everybody, a lot of those guys don't see each other because, you're one of you guys working in Wink, another guy's working in shallow water, another guy's working on a fire station over here. So they may not see each other all the time. So it gives us an opportunity to catch up. Oh, this guy used to be on my crew. It's good to catch up with you. We feed everybody breakfast. And then we have like a company event twice a year. We do a big Christmas party and do a bunch of giveaways. And then we do a summer event. Like we took everybody out to the Addledew Farms, the corn maze deal.
Yeah, corn maze.
We used to do Joyland. We've rented out Main Event. Just depends on the year. And
you're blowing the number of employees in a service company. How many trucks is that?
We run, just the insurance stuff. We have 100 vehicles.
Golly.
I think 75-ish of those are powered. Then we've got trailers and back trailers and backhoes and skid steers and all the things that you need to work in the dirt.
Okay. The number one question, the biggest problem in trades, how do you recruit and retain and build up your people?
Culture is probably the biggest piece of it. We've spent the last 4 years between myself and a few of the folks that I trust at the business, our HR director, really working on that culture. I mean, if you've got somebody that is a jerk in the business, that can really affect everybody. So we were surgical about it. But I fired 3 or 4 people just because they were great employees, did their job great, but they were just difficult to work with and nobody wanted to be around them. So we managed them out of the business. And having a good reputation about that is a big piece of it. People want to come work for you. Benefits, I mean, all the other things to it. I mean, at the end of the day, dollar per hour is a big piece of that for these guys, right? Right.
Pay them well.
Right. But all the other things I think are what we have spent a lot of time working on, because if you're going to spend as much time with your coworkers as you do with your family.
Yeah.
And
riding around in those 75 work pickups. Goodness gracious.
Run around with a bunch of jerks.
Yeah.
So we've spent a lot of time focusing on that. I think it's probably one of our biggest keys to success.
Where do you go find these guys? Because that's that's all over the news is no one's going into the trades. And so where do you even start? I mean, don't give away anything proprietary, but how do you find them?
5 years ago, it was a complete struggle. We were really struggling because we had a bad reputation. But since then, we have guys that come to us.
Oh, man.
So it's been one of those things.
You meant it when you said culture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a big deal. I mean, those guys all know each other. It's not it's like the Church of Christ thing that you talked about. Everybody knows everybody. They all went to school, same school. They all see each other at the supply house all the time, and they either worked for a company together or they worked for somebody that worked for a company. I mean, those guys move around some. We've been really good at reducing our turnover, but they all know each other.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, community events that we do. We do a big deal called Heat the Town. So they all know each other, and the company reputation goes along with that. So if they're at the supply house bad-mouthing us, they're probably not going to come work for us. If they're at the supply house going, hey, look at this van that they just got us set up with automated inventory on, and look how nice it is, then they might come call us when we've got a job opening. So,
yeah, it's they've got a great culture. They pay well. They've got things automated. Who doesn't want to be part of that? So
that I'm just processing that for a second. The spending time that takes time. This is hard work. Finding the right people, hiring the right people, taking care of people is just hard work. And when you do it for a number of years and you've got them in the night, the most comfortable work pickup, you've got them and you're making their lives as easy as you can. It's hard work.
Yeah.
It's manual labor.
We're not done. I think we're 50% of the way there.
Yeah.
Of where my ideal picture is.
Okay.
But we're moving that direction. I think once you get movement, there's something that happens with movement.
Yeah. Momentum.
Yeah.
Mo.
That's right.
Big Mo.
Well, it sounds like you are having some success building that momentum, and that's awesome. But I want you to tell us about a time when the wheels fell off or when something went wrong. You had these grand plans for momentum and it just didn't go your way.
Oh, yeah. I remember it vividly. It was my birthday 5 years ago. So we had a family that worked for us, 2 sons. Wife was accounts payable manager, like service manager was the dad. One was a service tech. And that was kind of the beginning of, it was the end of us being really bad, in my opinion. Like he was just nice. He was a jerk. And our owner kind of made the decision that, hey, we're going to move it in a different direction. We still want you to be, a service tech, but we don't want you to be a leader. And that lasted for about 6 weeks before they all quit at once. And all the projects that I had moving just stopped because I had to go take over. 2 of them worked in the office and they both worked for me, either directly or indirectly. So I had to stop everything and become an AP clerk for 6 weeks while we found somebody else. And then our controller died a few months after that. So
man.
Yeah, I was busy. I didn't see a whole lot of my family that year. Oh, and we converted software packages at the same time.
Wow.
The triple crown.
Yeah.
So a mass exodus, a death of a key employee, and a software change all at once. And yet
I shaved several years off of my life.
But I'll bet that you are glad that you went through that storm, right? I mean, it sounds like it wasn't fun at the time, but you're better now than.
You learn a lot from hard things.
Yeah.
I don't like doing them. Nobody likes doing them.
No.
Yeah.
I try to not make them harder than they should be, which I think a lot of folks have a tendency to do. But yeah, I learned a lot from it. I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, they say things come in threes. So
yeah,
you got those. You got a big 3. Yeah.
The big 3.
So how do you balance, your dad and your husband, you're running this business. How do you balance that in your life?
Poorly. I think if you ask my wife, I've gotten better at it. I was awful at it at the beginning because, this is a weird thing. It's like I want to be lazy, but when I get to work, I love work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it. So the best thing I ever did, I guess, in balancing that was I got roped into coaching when the kids were super little. And so I coached my kids all the sports that they had until they moved on to high school sports or junior high sports when I was supposed to sit in the stands, which was really nice. Mm-hmm. I miss it now, but I think that scheduling those things so that you have to be home for something, whether that's dinner, whether it's game, whatever it is, sports was it for us for a good period of our season. But yeah, that's where I balanced it. So even when everything was falling apart, I would come home, coach football, and then go back. So
yeah. It's good. We all need that. We need to remember to be real people.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've always struck me as you've been really intentional with what you say yes to. And I'm sure that wasn't always the case.
No. But I got real good at saying no.
Yeah. That's
probably the biggest lesson I've ever learned is how to say no. And I'm still not very good at it because I think I'm a people pleaser. I want to say yes. I try and find, like our kids, try and find a way to say yes, but also don't have any hesitation saying no.
How do you get better at that? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that and get too much on their plate.
You get too much on your plate.
Yeah. Realize you just have to, or you're going to suffocate.
Yeah. I would love to say that I've learned from other people's mistakes, but for the most part, I have not. And I've overloaded myself and then just get to the point where you say no. And there's some great books about it. The Art of Not Giving a F is brilliant. I would highly recommend it. So there's some that you can train, but a lot of it's you just make mistakes and get older. And old guys, they have no issue saying no. Some of that's just maturity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would love to give you the secret for that, but not giving a care about what people think about you and being older makes it a whole lot easier.
And that's so much of business is there's no secret pill or there's no magic pill. There's no, secret that if you knew everything would be easy. so much of it is show up every day and continue to take action, be intentional with that. Eventually you're going to learn to intentionally say yes to things, and you build this, whether it's your culture and hiring people, like you took action every day, you took care of people every day. And eventually you've like learned stuff, you've broken stuff, you've
learned stuff. That's probably
you've made some people mad, you've made some people happy, and you're learning the difference in the two. And then you look up 5-10 years from now
and you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like I still to this day say, like, how did I get to the point where I know what I'm doing in this business? And I still don't on a lot of things, but you just do it long enough. I mean, some people call it practice, but
it's I can't remember if it's three or four C's, but it's like, you're committing to something, right? You have the courage to suck at it.
Yeah.
You have the courage to keep going whenever you're really bad at it, when the wheels are falling off, and eventually having that courage and doing it long enough, you develop the capability.
Well, and I came out of the software world. Like I wanted to be a coder.
Oh gosh. Yeah. We need to sit on that.
And was and am still. But one of the methodologies is fail fast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing that I brought to the business. Is like, dude, we don't need to make plans for 6 months. Let's just find one person that'll try it with us and let's do it and see how it works and learn from it.
Being action oriented like that is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Just running into that over and over again with business owners and people who are leaders. It's like have a bias towards taking action.
Yeah, we used to plan stuff forever and it wore me out. And I think that's just the ADHD and impatience of me. But like, let's just do this, see what happens.
Yeah.
And there's some things that you can't do that with. I mean, you can't do that with employees. Like, hey, let's just hire this guy and see if he works out. I mean, you could, but that's not a very nice thing to do. But on the whole, we just, hey, this is a great idea. Let's see if it works. And a lot of times it doesn't, but we learn something someplace else.
And sometimes you need to think through some of the details before you jump. But at the same time, if you just sit around all day doing that, you're just never going to take action. And
it's never going to get off the ground.
That's right.
We build a lot of airplanes while we fly them.
I like that.
Have you ever done Enneagram?
What's that?
Oh, never mind.
Is that like the personality test?
Yeah, it's like a personality test.
I've done 1,000 of them. I don't know if I've done that one. Dad's got a degree in human development, family studies. So I was like his guinea pig for years.
You've always struck me as like a Enneagram 7 because he always wants to try these new things. He always has ideas.
Yeah. And I had this conversation today with a girl that I really trust. I'm like, hey, here's my idea for this thing, but you've been really good to tell me that that's a terrible idea over the years. So I also have trusted partners in that.
Yes.
Like I find people that are either veterans. Like there was a guy that I missed so much, Pat Stevenson, that worked with us. He was our service manager. And I would come with all these great ideas in my mind. And he would be like, that's never going to work. And I would make him explain why. And sometimes I was like, oh yeah, you're right. That's never going to work. And sometimes he was just being, hey, this is the way we've always done it. But he was willing to hear me.
Yeah.
And so that was a big piece of my success, is having somebody that could tell me that's never going to work. That's a stupid idea.
Yeah, okay.
Finding those people you trust and are collaborative, at least for me, I'm a very collaborative person, has been really valuable.
There's two important things I take from that. One is you're the kind of guy who wants somebody to be a truth teller with you, even if it's not maybe what you wanted to hear. And I think a lot of people out there need to know that. Like we need to be the kind of people who, I just want to know the truth so I can move forward.
Well, and I want to be that to other people. I think that's a responsibility we have in business.
But the second thing is if you can get to that place where you're willing to accept it, then you need to find somebody who's that truth teller for you and find that mentor.
And not have your feelings hurt when he goes, that's a stupid idea.
Yeah.
But he's right.
Yeah.
So
he's saving you a lot of trouble that you're going to learn one way or the other.
That humility goes a long way.
Yeah. Yep. Not taking yourself that serious. That's one thing I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs are kind of those visionary people, right? They have a lot of ideas. They're a little, cerebral isn't the right word, but
nebulous is the word I use.
There you go.
They're very cloudy.
Yeah. Yeah. They have these ideas and these visions that aren't quite clear yet, and they want to try things. And being self-aware enough to build a team, because if you just walked in the front door and you're like, hey, we're going to try this new idea today, like you're going to make everybody mad. You're going to make their lives miserable.
Done it.
And create chaos.
And maybe 15 minutes after a conversation, you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to do that. But but here's this idea that maybe we should try. And so having kind of a personal sounding board before you go shout it from the rooftops, that you've been intentional with that. And I want our listeners to hear that if you are that person, like kind of build your little inner circle that you can bounce those ideas off, that can poke holes in it. And then, once it holds water, then you can take it to the group.
One of the mistakes that I made early on was being collaborative with people that are not ready for it.
Yes.
Like there's some people that are just not that way. Like you give them an idea and they take it as, well, this is what we're doing now.
Right.
And I was like, no, that I'm just kind of
we're testing this out
and figuring out those people who are going to be those truth sayers to you.
I think one more question, what are you excited about at Bruce Thornton? Like what's on the horizon that you're excited about? Maybe it's one of those harebrained ideas, but what's next?
No, it's so nerdy. Like we get these invoices from our suppliers, right?
Okay.
And it takes us along because you have to know what part number that is. And we have dozens of suppliers and they all call it something a little different. They're all very cryptic for a, 1/4 inch by 3/4 inch reducing T. I mean,
what is that?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically a T that has one side that's smaller. But I mean, that kind of stuff's hard for people, especially that haven't been in the industry. Like they have to ask 1,000 questions. So I figured out our software package. We can import their codes. So like they have a product code for everything. And we're just going to match them up to our stuff. So when our folks go to receive it, they can just type in their product code, boom, it goes. That automation thing.
Yeah.
But like, that's the nerd in me that wants to take everything and make it easier. And if we can do it, which I've got a pilot case that's running right now, it's going to make their job so much easier. It's going to make our inventory so much more accurate. And it's just going to be good for the business.
Cool. Well, so the nerdy
that's what I'm excited about.
What?
Data optimization.
What a nerd. The self-described lazy guy that isn't at all.
Yeah. Well, the nerdy things that make people's lives better. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I see why you're getting excited and nerding out about that. I think it's time for a fire round.
All right. Time for a fire round. Let's do it.
All right. What's your favorite movie?
Like, which answer do you want? Like the best movie I've ever seen, or like the one that I go back to watch over and over again?
This is your answer. You choose.
This is your answer. You have to own it.
So if it's best movie, probably Shawshank.
Okay.
Okay.
But you're not going to go watch that movie over and over again.
No,
once you see the ending, it blows your mind.
Yeah.
But the movie. I still go back and watch it every once in a while. Probably like the movie that I watch more than anything else is The Saint. Y'all remember that? Val Kilmer.
Wow.
Yeah.
I watched that one time. Okay.
Like there's just something about the criminal that becomes the redemption story that's a part of that. Plus it's got Elizabeth Shue in it. So
okay. Sounds like I need to go rewatch
that's a little
this
before
one.
my time. Yeah. I don't think I was interested in girls when that came out.
What were you interested in?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You alluded to this, but what's your favorite nonfiction book?
Nonfiction book. Probably Freakonomics.
Okay. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
Like that was one of those books that just changed my outlook on things. Like when they broke some of that stuff down, and it was the same thing when I took statistics in college. Like you're like, oh, that's different. And I'm a gambler, so I was using it to try and count cards, but like it just changed the way I looked at things. That or Green Lights. I've never read it, but listening to it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
McConaughey does a good job on that one. But the Freakonomics, that was a fun one. It reminded me a lot of Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers. There was a lot of like stats that was like, you wouldn't think something would be correlated, but that was just fascinating. That was a good book. Okay.
All right. What's one piece of advice that's common in your industry that you don't agree with at all?
Ooh, that's interesting. I don't know that there's a whole lot of common wisdom in our industry that is wrong. I mean, you got to take care of your air conditioner. Don't run, strainy vegetables down the garbage disposal. I don't know.
Okay.
That's a good one. I don't have a great answer for that.
That's all right.
That's okay. That's an answer. All right. And then what words of wisdom or quote do you try to live by or has impacted you the most?
I mean, for me, like personal motto, I've never been outdone as a friend or as an enemy. Genghis Khan.
Okay.
Something that I heard years ago in college history that just stuck with me.
Yeah.
I think there's a loyalty piece to that. But
say it again.
I've never been outdone as a friend or as an enemy.
Okay.
right. Genghis Khan.
Temujin.
Man, deep.
Temujin, yeah, I forgot. That was his Mongol name,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's probably not a direct correlation, and the professor may have given it latitude, but yeah, it stuck with me.
Love it.
Well, then we got the family rules, like the things that you're trying to pass down wisdom to your children.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you can't be good at it. Never break two laws at the same time.
You have another one?
There's a long list, but I'll spare you.
I don't
most
feel
of
like in the
them.
construction world, like you got some West Texas sayings that you probably shouldn't repeat.
Yes.
For everyone to hear. Okay. Well, man, that wasn't what I was expecting, but was fun. And man, I appreciate you coming on.
Yes.
I
Thanks for
know
having me.
there's some service industry folks that are going to enjoy this. So thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that podcast and enjoyed that conversation. I know we did.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And if you got value out of that podcast and you want more like that, go ahead and click subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review because that's how we tell more people about our podcast. So please do that. And if you are a business owner who is feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you've hit a plateau or your hair is on fire and you're out of control, go ahead and go to our website at stagcoaching.com and click in the upper right-hand corner and take our free business assessment. In just a few minutes and just a few questions, it can help diagnose what's going on in your business, what needs your attention, what's going well, what isn't, and the next steps to take. And so it's on our website, stagcoaching.com. It's free and it's easy. And thank you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.